Well, surprise. The Prez is not here once again. It looks like the Black Bear might have been a worthwhile bet yesterday, as he did wrestle in the wilderness with a giant black bear. And from what I understand, if you laid the minus 5,000 with the Black Bear, you are cashing a ticket here. We wish the Prez a speedy recovery, but we have got college football. We've got props across the board here tonight to talk with the one and only Mr. Andy Lang. 2 in the NFL, 1 in the NBA, 1 in the NHL. We got plenty going on, of course, in the college football playoffs. UFC with Gianni the Greek. He'll drop by. We'll get his thoughts on maybe the biggest NFL game of the Week 15 slate with the Buffalo Bills coming up. And our good friend Dave Mason of Bet Online, he's going to drop by as we have look-ahead numbers for the college football playoff. If you can believe that, we already have look-ahead lines. We're going to get his thoughts on what those lines are telling us and so much more, including our first guest to talk a little Army-Navy. Couldn't think of anybody better here to join us right now than the one and only Mark Zinno in the house, here to talk some Army-Navy, as I think this is going to be a fun one here, Zin, with two teams that have been top 25 at points here in the season. Looking very forward to seeing exactly what it is you think we're going to get in this one. The total, 38.5, 39.5, two teams that average 32 points a game this year. Zin, something's going to give. What is it in this matchup?
Yeah, well, the total's interesting because it's the highest total we've seen in almost a dozen years between these two teams. And last year we were at a crazy 29, and somehow the game managed to stay under. So there is that. But still, this is a series where 11 of the last 13 have gone under. Believe it or not, Army has scored first in 10 of the last 11 meetings between these two teams. So, and I think it's 22 of the last 30 games have been decided by one score. So, you're going to get a tight game between the two service academies. All those things said, Joe, I don't know that people are necessarily kind of looking at this Army team differently, and they should be. This is a much different Army offense. It's a much different Army defense. Army is a markedly better team than Navy by every metric. The one thing that we can't account for, because we've never had this situation before when it comes to Army-Navy playing, is that one of these two teams played a game last week. Both teams usually have a bye. Army did not. They played in the American Championship game and beat Tulane at home rather handily. A Navy team that lost to Tulane big. So when you look at all the comps here, at under a touchdown, it's hard not to like Army. Put it this way. I mean, again, it's what I always say. Like if Army, typically probably isn't covering early, they're not covering late in this one. But I expect Army to get out to a lead and score. The way I played this game, and I actually made this a client play as well, Bryson Daly to score 2 touchdowns. He scored 2 touchdowns in every game this year except one. Week 2 at FAU, they won 24-7. He threw a touchdown pass, didn't run for any. Other than that, every other game, he scored 2 touchdowns. When they only scored 14 points against North Texas, Bryson Daly ran them both in. When they only scored 14 points against Notre Dame, Bryson Daly ran them both in. He has scored 2 touchdowns in every game. There's not a reason to believe that when they are inside the 5-yard line, that it's not Bryson Daly going to keep the ball and plunge it into the end zone. So I like Bryson Daly here to score 2 touchdowns. It's minus 110. What does it tell you when a player, to score 2 touchdowns is minus money? There's a really good chance it's going to happen. So that's the way I played this game between these two. I do think the game goes over. I don't know if Army covers because I do respect Navy's offense and their ability to score here. How much can Army really shut down the Navy run game really is what it boils down to. Now, Navy as a run defense is bad. Like, they give up 160 yards a game on the ground. It could get out of control early for Navy. And if they get down big and have to throw, they're dead in the water. Army's got a little bit better of a passing game than Navy does, but unless Navy gets out to a lead and forces Army to play a little bit different than what they have been, I don't know if they stand a chance in this game.
Yeah, it's interesting because we haven't seen Horvath, right? Hasn't played, I think, since mid-November for Navy. They are saying he's going to be the healthiest that he's been in a long time, but they spread the wealth around. I think 8 different guys on Navy have actually scored a rushing touchdown this year. little harder to try to figure out exactly what you're going to get for them. But is this one of these games in where you go, where if you're not covering early, you're not covering late? Like, how are you approaching that, maybe even in the first half early in this one?
Again, that first half number with Army is interesting just because of the fact that they do get out to an early. I even looked at the first quarter and said over 7.5. The problem is that you're likely going to get one touchdown from each, or one possession rather from each. So you need them both to score, unless, of course, Army forces a quick 3 and out and then goes down the field and scores again. I think that's realistically possible, but I'm curious to see how the tempo of the game goes. The first half total is at 19.5. You're going to get 3 touchdowns? Possibly, yeah. Like 14-7 wouldn't shock me either if both of the teams did it. But I think it's going to be higher scoring than people expect. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 24-17 final and this thing get to 41, somewhere in that range. I think it's totally possible.
Big shout out here to the chat room. Those of you guys joining us live here today. Titan CT, Ave Cash in the house, Crypto Night Vision here also. He wanted to know if we should be looking at Army in the first half. Andrew also in the house. Shout out to Aubrey Travis, shouting out Army strong. I think Army quarterback runs for $140. I think it's interesting, the prop betting market in this one here, Zin.
Of course, everything crashes right at my segment. Hello.
Want to bring the thing back in now. Lower third. All right, welcome back in here. As technology is wonderful when it works. Apparently, the Prez is doing some sort of voodoo dance or something while I'm in his absence. In the meantime, thank you guys for hanging around as we welcome back in Mark Zinno here, quick, who laid it out for the Army-Navy game. And Zin, quickly, for those that might have gotten cut off and missed it, lay out your best bets in the Army-Navy for us again, if you could.
Yeah, Bryson Daly to score 2 touchdowns at minus 110. He scored 2 touchdowns in every single game this year except for one, week 2 against FAU. But even the 2 games where they only scored 14 points, a 14-3 win over North Texas, Bryson Daly ran both those touchdowns in. And the 45-14 loss against Notre Dame, Bryson Daly also ran both of those touchdowns in. So anytime Army gets inside the 10-yard line, the 5-yard line, Bryson Daly is going to be the guy that's going to get him home here. So there's no reason to believe that they're going to change their philosophy after this many weeks of success with him being the lead running back and the lead horse pulling the sled here. So I think Bryson Daly gets into the end zone twice. I lean Army to cover this number, but I like the over. I think 24-17 is a very possible final where we get into the 40s here, something we haven't seen in a while between these two teams. This is just a different Army program, not only offensively, but defensively. Navy can't stop the run. They give up 160 rushing yards per game. Daly should have a very big day and find pay dirt at least twice.
So one of the questions that I saw in the chat room there, and welcome back in, guys, Roger Long, BB King there, and others. We appreciate you hanging with us. One of the questions I saw in the chat room was, if we like Army to cover, should we be looking at the Army team total? Are they scoring 30 points here, basically? They're certainly more than capable of it.
Yeah, no, look, I one of the angles I definitely looked at, Army team total over 23.5.
Yep.
It depends on how many field goals they really end up having to settle for, guys. I mean, that's ultimately what it boils down to. You could alt line it too. I mean, if you can find something under 21, go for it. I think it's not a bad play. Lay the extra juice. The only thing is, I think there's going to be plenty of scoring by Army in this one. You do have to kind of acknowledge and respect the fact that these games take on a certain life of their own, that despite the fact that this is a different Army team, there is a way that Navy, who, oh, by the way, again, has had an extra week to prepare for this game. I know it's Army and they play Navy all the time. They know each other. But trust me, an extra week to prepare for one opponent while the other team was preparing for Tulane in a championship game means something. And not only that, does Army have any of an emotional letdown? First conference championship ever. That was a big deal for them. You know, those guys, it's going to take them an extra day to come down from the high, a couple of days to get physically recovered, then start installing a game plan that Navy's now been working on for 2 weeks. So I think all that matters. I still think Army is a markedly better team, but I think if you look to the team total market, it's absolutely a way to play it. this game could take on, we've seen blowouts. It could be a 31-7 final in favor of Army. I think that's absolutely possible. Like I said, if Army gets out early and scores and goes up 14-0 early, like they have on a lot of other teams, and Navy is now in a situation where we got to throw, it's going to get out of hand quick, and I think Army pours it on late, because there certainly won't be any, hey, let's pull up late and sort of bring our reserves in. No, every starter is going to play every minute of this game until the final horn sounds. So I don't think Army takes their foot off the gas pedal at all.
Yeah, I mean, the Commander-in-Chief trophy, I believe currently possessed by Army. Both Army and Navy are laughing at Air Force right now, but it won't be long before Air Force is back in the conversation, I'm sure there. Yeah. Also, neutral site game, it should be mentioned as well, yes. 3 o'clock Eastern time tip, correct?
Yeah, played in D.C. at the old RFK, now it's the Commander Stadium, whatever it is called, FedEx. I think it's Northwestern Stadium. Yep. By the way, listen, the last time we saw Army and Navy on the same field with this much offense was in Afghanistan in 2001. So, I don't think points would be a hard to come by in this game.
Love it. All right, guys, make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're joining us here, we certainly appreciate you hanging with us on this Friday. We want to talk a little college basketball with Zinno quick, because quite honestly, there's only one game with teams anybody's ever heard of or know where they are, and that is Indiana and Nebraska here. Most people have no idea where Weber State is, so we won't talk about them. But let's talk about Indiana on the road. First true road game, taking on Fred Hoiberg and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. The money came in early on Nebraska. It looks like we're getting a little bit of buyback now in Indiana. I'm seeing 4. It was as high as 4.5. What gives in this one?
Well, you set it up perfectly situationally, Joe. I mean, Indiana has not played a true road game this year. They played 3 neutral site games against Louisville, Gonzaga, and Providence. They lose 2 of those ones. But they've won their last 4 games by margin, by considerable margin. 4 kind of blowouts, at least, 12 to 15. I think 12 was the lowest number that it was between the 2 of them. So, look, they're coming in hot and playing really high. Now they got to go out on the road for their first true road game against a team like Nebraska, who's very tough defensively. But not only that, Nebraska got blown out bad in their last game at Michigan State. Michigan shot 52% from the field, 40% from 3 almost. Nebraska was a paltry 33% from the field and 18% from 3. So those losses tend to refocus these teams. Not only that, the other thing that makes me lean on Nebraska here, laying the 4, one thing really stands out to me. Indiana on offense is bad at holding on to the basketball. They average almost 20 turnovers a game, or 20% of their possessions are turnovers. That's bottom 100 in the country. And Nebraska is really good, top 25 in the country, in forcing turnovers. So if you're going to give Nebraska extra possessions, and a team like Nebraska that is good, inside and can shoot the ball decently well, and makes their free throws, then yeah, I think Nebraska's the right side here. I think that's something I really looked at, was the turnover ratio that really kind of, again, Indiana gives up the ball a lot. Nebraska gets a lot of steals. You're going to get extra possessions here from the Cornhuskers. I'm willing to lay the 4 here. The buyback does scare me a little bit. This number does feel a little bit big, but, I'm more willing to think that Nebraska is more likely to lose this game outright than not cover the number by margin.
Yeah, I think Nebraska is going to do a really good job of forcing Indiana to be jump shooting Indiana, and they're not very good at that. They get a lot of their points at the rim there, Zin, and they just won't shoot the 3, probably because they know they can't make any, and they have not made any on the season. So I think it's a great opportunity for Hoiberg and for Nebraska in one of the better Big Ten home court advantages. I'm with you, man. I like Nebraska to get it done here tonight, laying the 4. All right, Zinno, for those that don't know, Mark and Brian Power host a great show mornings here on WagerTalk TV called The Morning Wager. You guys, you were very confused yesterday on yesterday's episode, I believe, about why the bowl package was taken down. Well, you'll be glad to know the bowl package is up now for $149. In fact, your favorite handicapper, I believe, every bowl game through the national championship. What do you have, if anything, locked, loaded, and what are we looking at for your bowl season?
I've already got 2 bowls locked in already in the college football playoff world. So 2 of those 4 games are already on my card. When we take a look at some of the other ones, the smaller bowls that are going to start to happen this week, there's plenty of opportunities here for us. Once we get past Army Navy, but when we get to next week and we start looking at the Frisco Bowl and the Boca Raton Bowl and all these other things, those will definitely make the card. We went 80% last year in bowl season. I did. So we had a really good run. We'll look to pick it up, but make sure you guys get that package, WT.buzz/MZ.
Outstanding stuff there, Zin. We appreciate it, man. I know you're going to be all into that Army-Navy game tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. Let's cash those tickets. Have a good weekend. All right, guys, we got much more to get to here coming up on Wager Talk today, including Andy Lang and his prop godness will be by here. He's got 2, 3. He's got 4 props he's going to distribute out to you guys. 2 in the NFL, 1 in the NBA, 1 in the NHL. He is ready to roll for you. So let's bring him in. Andy Lang. Outstanding stuff here, my man. You were on the show yesterday dishing out props. You're going to be on the show again today. You're going to be on the show again next week. Hint, hint, people. Hit the like button and the subscribe button. If props are your thing, nobody does it better than Andy Lang. And I noticed not 1, but 2 in the NFL this week 15. Andy, break one of them down for us here.
Yeah, this is a client play that we've already put up. We're going to go back to David Montgomery over 15.5 receiving yards. I don't think most people realize how involved he is in the pass attack. He's gone over this in 6 straight games. And not only has he gone over 15.5, he's gone over 20 yards. And he's averaging in these 6 games 3 catches for 27 yards. So he's not barely getting over this total. He's flying over this total. There's a Bills team that they are terrible against running backs. They give up over 40 yards receiving. So we're going to go back to David Montgomery to go over his receiving yards. Kind of just under the radar. When you picture the Lions and David Montgomery, you picture, power running, but he's been very involved in the pass attack. So we'll go with him. And then we'll go with Tua over 1.5 passing touchdowns. He's gone over this in 4 straight games, and he gets a dream matchup here, Joe. The Texans have given up a league worst 26 passing touchdowns. As a Dolphins team where their running attack has kind of fallen off a little bit, they only have 9 rushing touchdowns this season, and only 6 are from their running backs. Like Tyler Huntley has one of them. They have a couple, like a wide receiver has one of them. So when they get in close, it's just not working for him in the rush attack. So we'll take Tua to go over for his 5th straight game in a row.
All right, looking for him to once again get a couple of touchdowns. You're right. It's baffling how bad they are at running the ball. And maybe Jonnu Smith anytime touchdown might not be a bad shot there, since he seems to be the only one that Tua can throw to and connect to. So interesting game, that one coming up against Houston, Andy. We also have an interesting slate of games here tonight in the NBA, and you managed to have pulled out a couple of props you like in this. So tell me what you got.
Yeah, we're going to be doing NBA tip-off a little bit later today, so you want a little bit more in-depth NBA analysis. Myself, Joe, and Steve Merrill will be doing that, so make sure you tune in for that. I'm going to go over 2 plays that we played earlier this week, Joe, and this is just kind of how I play props. It's a lot of the same guys. We hope to catch these streaks. And we're going to go right back to DeAndre Hunter over 17.5 points. Ooh. We talked about him, and we hit this play earlier this week. This is now 8 straight games that he's gone over. He's averaging over 13 shot attempts per game. He's shooting 48% from the floor, and more importantly, 44% from threes. And this is a Milwaukee team that gives up 22 points per game to the position. I just love what the Hawks have done with Jalen Johnson and DeAndre Hunter at the swings. Joe, I don't know about you, Joe. I'm enjoying the Hawks season. I love watching them. They're intriguing. They actually seem like they're for real. So I'm a big supporter of the Hawks and their props. And then we talked about Isaiah Joe over 0.5 assists. Joe, this is minus 224. This is a set it and forget it. This is hit in 22 out of 24 games this season. 22 out of 24 games. You just set it, forget it. He's averaging 3.3 potential assists per game. He's hit in the last 4 games. He's played against Houston. This game is actually tomorrow. So if you can't get the line now, just wait until tomorrow morning and lock it in. But I just had to bring that up. You just keep playing these plays over and over and over again. Clint Capella over half an assist. Isaiah Joe over a half assist. These are bets that you just set it and forget it.
You know, it's interesting, Andy. I once heard a very smart guy tell me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it sounds like that is exactly the philosophy that you are rolling with. All right, so we have a NHL prop, and I love these NHL props. We talked about it yesterday with you. They tend not to adjust in the market as quick as they do in some of these other sports. So once again, Andy, is this one of those, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? What are we looking at on the ice tonight?
Yeah, we hit our NHL play last night, Joe. That is now a 7-1 run in the NHL. That brings us to 103-64 in our last 3 seasons. And a lot of these plays are, you just keep going back to the same guy. Last night's play was Valerie Nichushkin under his shots on goal. It goes under again. We're going to go to Brent Burns under 2.5 shots on goal. He's gone under in 21 out of 28 games this season. And Joe, he's almost 40 years old. He's a man.
Woo!
He's almost 40.
Damn.
So he had 3 shots on goal last game. And Joe, he hasn't gone over in back-to-back games this season. So we're just going to play the trend on Brent Burns. Once you see him go once you see him go over his shots on goal, you just come back and play him for a few games. So we're going to Brent Burns, an oldie but goodie, under his shots on goal.
I can't wait to ask VR when he comes on next if he can think of anything less he'd rather do at 40 years old than get smashed into the boards and tripped up on the ice. Interesting stuff there, Andy. Listen, I got to know, man. I asked you yesterday. The chat room has been talking about it. Darts is right around the corner here, my man, and I would highly suggest, okay, throwing this out there, that don't watch it, don't get into, you don't need to. This man knows darts better than, and I've never seen anybody cash in darts year after year like Andy does. We laugh all the same, but yet, Andy, it still pays out the same currency when you win the bet. And you've got an opportunity for folks to jump on board with you in darts.
Yeah, this is the big tournament of the year. This is the World Championships. I went back and looked at our record last year. We brought in over 19 units of profit. We went 27-17. This is the one that we gear up for all year. Admittedly, we didn't have a great tournament in the last one, but we crushed in the spring with the the Championship League, and then this is the one that we just gear up for. It starts Sunday. There's a few games on Sunday, and then it really, really kicks off on Monday. And this thing goes to January 3rd. That's how big and long this tournament is. You're getting 2 weeks of that. You can get all of our darts plays for that. Like I said, we had 44 darts plays in this tournament last year. It brought in 19 units. So you can get the rest of it. That is extended all the way to January 3rd. We already have futures lined up for it. And it's a great tournament, Joe. You get part-time players playing against the world's best. You get some of these guys that are completely overmatched, and you get very great odds on this. And guys, these are available on all the sports books. These are on DraftKings. These are on FanDuel. These are all available everywhere. I think a lot of people don't even realize it because you've never looked for it. But on DraftKings, right there on the left side, darts, all the plays. So all these props and all these darts plays that we do, we play with our own money. It's been a huge, huge builder of our bankrolls. So take advantage of that, wt.buzz/AL.
Oh, Andy, going to be fun. I think Eric D says it perfectly in the chat room. Bro, I made money on darts and lacrosse with these last year, and you just keep continuing to cash the tickets, Andy, and we appreciate you so much hanging out with us here on Wager Talk today. Have a good weekend, but don't forget, Andy and Steve Merrill, 2:15 Eastern Time, the NBA tip-off show. Plenty to go over in that when we've got coming up a little bit later this afternoon, as we finally have more than 2 games going on the NBA slate. Now, I'll tell you what else we got plenty of, and that's gold, brother, because here he is, Gianni the Greek VR in the house on Friday here on Wager Talk today. VR, imagine being 40 and getting drilled into the boards and clipped on the ice. Like, I can't think of anything. Maybe being in the UFC at 40 would be right up there on the least things that I'd want to do at that point.
Yeah, no thank you. No thank you at all. And actually, the funny thing is, that's actually the lowest win percentage is fighters over 40. Like the
40.
highest win percentage, is under 25. 25 and under is the highest winning percentage, which makes sense because that's when they're growing the most. And guys that are really skilled are fighting more or less guys on their way out and stuff. So that the strength of schedule is usually easier. But the 40 or higher, those have the highest losing percentage. And that's even with a few outliers that kept winning after 40. You know what I mean? But historically, that's when it starts to really go downhill. You see it at 30, but at 40, it's over. At 40, it's over.
Yeah. No, at 40, at that point, you're a punching bag and you are just holding on, brother. Like time to get a job at Applebee's or something. Like, stop it. All right. Yeah. Speaking of UFC, great final event in Tampa coming up this tomorrow night, in fact. And I love Billy Q, man. He's been one of my favorites. He's from Buffalo. He's a warrior. But my goodness, is he got a shot in this one? Because it hasn't been a great stretch for him.
No, it hasn't. Here's what he's done, though. Since 2020, he's alternated wins and losses. He's one of those guys that really bounces back well, like off a loss. This guy comes back and brings it. And here is going up against an opponent who is over 40 now in Cub Swanson. We know I just talked about the lowest win percentage. And I think stylistically, as long as Billy Q's chin holds up, this is a very winnable fight for him. He's going to outland him for sure. He's going to land a lot more. So he'll not only land more, but he'll even have the bigger minutes. Because even though Cub's the power puncher, if you look at their knockout ratio, there's really not all that much difference. I think with Cub, most looking at the big sample size, the entire career. But of late, I think Billy Q could withstand it as a favorite. I think he should be at least a 2-1 favorite here. So we have an edge at anything less than minus 200. I think it's a good spot in the co-main event. I really do. He's had a decent strength of schedule. He's going to be 5 years younger here. And like I said, with Cub Swanson, this is now his 25th fight. It's at the end of his career and over 40 years old. You got to be getting me a lot better plus than that. Give me Billy Q tomorrow. There's a lot of good bets. I just released, I think, another one this morning, like a plus 220, 230. I actually have 2 or 3 dogs on this card that I like a lot. So a good card for Saturday. With the last card of the year, I wanted to fire 5% so badly, Joe, but it's just not there. There's a bunch of 4%, but that one that I could say is just so much stronger isn't there. So I'd rather spread it out with like 5, 6 big 4% plays than like that 1-5 and then a bunch of 3s. So I have a handful of really big plays. But Billy Q is definitely one of them. I laid 155. It's a 4% play for Saturday's card.
Looking forward to it. Final one of the year tomorrow at Amelia Stadium there where the Tampa Bay Lightning play in Tampa. I know a few guys that are going to be there. It should be a fun one there. Also, VR, we got plenty of gold coming up here. And, of course, we'll see you again tomorrow and Sunday on Wager Talk's Last Call and get that last-minute movement, that last-minute steam. But, man, this Detroit-Buffalo game the total is out of control. It won't get to 3, or is it going to get to 3? What are we making of this fight?
You know, I was thinking that same thing because obviously I like the Bills side. I've been waiting for Detroit to kind of regress towards the mean all season, like most bettors, and that's really not happening. Although of late, the books done a lot better job of pricing them because even though, again, they've won how many games in a row? Over the last 5, they're 2-3 against the spread. So the book's done a lot better job. And the reason for that is simple. Look at their last 5 games. In 2 of those last 5 games, they were double-digit favorites. So, again, the market is very efficient in the NFL, and it tends to continue to correct itself. You see a Buffalo team that's coming off a tight loss in L.A., I think you get a nice bounce back here. We're getting extra points because it appears to be back-to-back road games. But Detroit's one of those teams that has almost zero home field advantage. And let me prove that to you because they're 12-1 this year. They're 6-0 away. They're 6-1 at home. How has being home favored them? Like, show me they're 0-5 on the road and 5-0 at home. And shit, you got a strong home field advantage. But if you're 5-0 on the road, 5-0 at home, it don't matter where you're playing. We're going to get that team. So I think this is one of those numbers that when you look at power rating wise, these are as even as they come, but they have to factor in the Detroit as home field advantage. They have to factor in Buffalo coming off back-to-back road games, and they played a lot better at home than they have on the road. And because of that, I think we're getting a great number. Take the 2.5. I like them on the money line. I don't think I'm going to need the points. I'm hoping it stays at 2.5, Joe. I'm hoping it don't get the 3, that it stays 2.5, so I could wong it as well. Because I want Buffalo in a wong teaser, but they have to be at 1.5, 2, or 2.5 for me to fire. Because I'm already going to sprinkle them on the money line. So my insurance is hopefully getting them at plus 8.5 as well. I don't think we're going to need it. I think they go into Detroit, and I think they get it done. Like I said, power rating wise, I have them as the better team, believe it or not. They're right there, within a half a point of each other, depending on what week it is. Passing success rate, we're identical, very close to each other as far as the quarterbacks go. And I believe offensively and defensively, I'm more balanced. At least that's what it shows against the NFL average offense and the NFL average defense. I don't see how Detroit should be favored in this game. I'll take the points. I don't need it, actually, the money line. And then see if you could get a teaser in with Buffalo as well. Take the Bills on Sunday. I think it's a sharp play. Wise guys bet it. I agree with it.
I don't think it's getting to 3 at all there, Gianni. But also, what about those long teasers here over the last, let's say, 4 weeks? We're starting to see a lot of these plus 2.5 dogs win outright. We saw Seattle do it last week. If you got 8.5, Buffalo is in that prime spot here. What have the Wong teasers done here over the last month as we head into the end of December?
If you've been wonging the way we've been taught, which is whenever you see that number at 1.5, 2, or 2.5, bet it up. And if you see it at, 7.5, 8, or 8.5, bet it down. No matter what day it is, you really haven't done all that well, Joe, even from the beginning of the year, because they've done a good job of defending it. But if you waited until the line is as efficient as you can find, and we know when that is, that's at the close, because that's how the books judge you, whether you're a winning better or losing better. They don't judge you on how much money you beat them for. They judge you on your potential to beat them. And they're able to figure that out by your ability to beat the closing number, because the closing number is the most efficient line we have, because all the information's factored into it. By kickoff, we know who's hurt, who's not. We know what the wise guys are on. We know what the public's on. We know what the weather's like. We have all the information factored into it. So we want the line as sharp as possible, because the only way you win a teaser is if the game lands near the point spread. So we want an efficient line. We want it to be on those key numbers. And that's it. That's all you got to do. So wait about 10, 15 minutes before kickoff. Look for those 1.5, 2, 2.5, tease them up. 7.5, 8, 8.5, tease them down. And you'd be up about 20 positions going into week 15. At $100 a teaser, you'd be up over $2,000 doing nothing but that. No handicapping, Joe. Doesn't matter what the teams are. Doesn't matter what the total. Nothing. Nothing at all. As long as the sharpest books on the planet have the number where it's advantageous to Wong, you're sitting in a plus EV position. You're not going to cash every bet. Again, good bets lose all the time, just like bad bets win. But you make enough of them, you'll be profitable. You'll be in that small percentage that actually made money. So wait till about quarter of on Sunday, 15 minutes before kickoff, and fire on your Wong teasers. And again, all the way through the end of the year. But they're making them less and less available. Almost should have kept it secret, but it's there to be beat.
And yet here we are, Gianni, staring at a 2.5 for a home dog in Seattle. And are we thinking that gets to 3? And do you jump in if you like it at this point now, or do you wait until kickoff to see what kind of late movement comes in?
There's a difference of opinion here. A very sharp group took the Packers, laid the 2.5 with the Packers. That seemed to be the position. But then you're seeing they're picking off 3s. So there's definitely another group out there that likes the Seattle Seahawks catching the points. The difference is going to be once the public speaks. They haven't spoken yet, because they're not going to bet this game until Sunday, and the majority is not going to get bet until Sunday night after they know the outcomes of the early games and the afternoon games. That's why it'll be interesting to see when the public speaks what happens, because I think most of the public's going to be on the Packers side, which will probably move it up to 3. That's what we'll probably be looking at kickoff. So if you could like the Packers and you're seeing 2.5, you probably want to lay it. If you like Seattle and you can't find 3, you probably could sit back and get that later. I like the Packers. I think they're the much better team. Tough place to play in Seattle, obviously. but less than a field goal. I think they're the right side. At least that's what my data shows, that you could lay it.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting Week 15 card, but you already mentioned it, Gianni. You've got bets locked and loaded. UFC tomorrow night in Tampa. What does your card look like? Because great opportunity, that 10-day all-access pass for just $99, a way to end the year. I mean, folks head to your page, Gianni. In addition to NFL and UFC, what else are we looking at here?
Well, if you're ever going to follow, honestly, like MMA, I've had the best year, Joe, in the last decade. Like I'm really dialed in the MMA world. I've been now at the UFC 6 years. Just got another contract. Like I'm in real, like I originate most of my MMA stuff. I'm very confident in it. We're up over 100 units or so. Double-digit ROI. We'll be unloading on that card. I have a 4-pack in college football. Don't think college football is over. Not only do we have Army, Navy, we have a couple other games tomorrow that we're looking to take advantage of. So I have a 4-pack in college football already up with the games in it. And Sunday, NFL, baby. We'll be in the steam room early, going over each and every NFL game. We swept the 4% last week. I feel really good about this week as well. So it's a great time to get involved. And, of course, the bowl games, not to pat myself on the back, but over the last 5 years of WagerTalk, no one's been more profitable in the bowls. Last 4 years, last 3 years, last 2 years, year by year, we do damage on the bowls. Nothing's going to change that. So jump on board and start 2025 off the right way. Head on over to WagerTalk.com. But smash that like button first and give my man Joe some love.
Could not have said it better, Gianni. Appreciate it as always. We'll see you tomorrow for Last Call, 11 a.m. Eastern time with Kelly Stewart. Enjoy the day there, VR. And guys, don't forget to also check out VR on Bet On It. The link is in the description there. Had some great gold for you guys from early in the week. You can catch that over at the Wager Talk YouTube page, and looking very forward to this Week 15 slate. And like the man said, hit the damn like button if you haven't done it already. What are you waiting for? That's what I'm saying. All right, we have got much more still to come here. Of course, our man Dave Mason from Bet Online is here with us like he is each and every Friday, stepping in. And Dave, how you doing? Getting a lot of sleep these days with, there's almost nothing going on in the world of sports, my man.
Yeah, man, I've been sleeping well, actually. I've been sleeping well. But it's fun now, man. It's a fun time of year. The holidays coming up, and I'm really happy. We're really excited about this college football playoff, man. This 12-team bracket. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. What are you seeing now? Because you guys did a really cool thing. I saw some of these look-ahead lines for the bracket and what we've got coming up this week, but how much early action have you seen on these games? Are you impressed with the handle? Is everyone waiting until last minute? What do you think we got here?
For the first round games, I mean, the handle's good. The handle's good, but shoot, man, 80 to 90% of that action comes in the last day, which I can never understand, but the handle's good. 64%. I'll go down them. Indiana versus Notre Dame. 64% of the tickets and 54% of the cash is on the Hoosiers. SMU, Penn State. 58% of the cash on Penn State. But 59% of the tickets at SMU. Texas, Clemson. 63% of the tickets and 72% of the cash is on Clemson. Ohio State, Tennessee. Cash is 50-50, but 77% of tickets are on the balls. But like I said, 90% of that action is yet to come in. So,
yeah, and there will be a lot of it, no doubt, Dave, as we get a little bit closer. Talk to me, though, about, I got people bitching left and right over the last week on how does Boise get a top 4 seed. I thought the look-ahead lines were out of control there. You got Penn State. If they advance 11.5 over Boise State, you got SMU about half of that, 6.5 over Boise State, but way more points there for a total in that look ahead there. Interesting. What does the Boise State feel right now in the market?
I mean, they're overseeded, right? they're it's but again,
Big
it's the
time.
first time we're having it. It's the first time we're having this bracket, right? So it's I think they got some wrinkles to work out. I mean, it's great that it's here, but I mean, the seeding should be the fourth best team more or less, but they're the 11th or 12th best team in this field. So yeah, I mean they're going to be hefty dogs in their first round game, even with the bye. So I think bettors will be on. I mean, bettors are. They've been betting the heck out of them for to win it all. I mean, they're our biggest liability for the odds to win the whole darn thing. We have a liability on Notre Dame as well, but that's a lot of that what I call lottery ticket stuff. When they're long odds, people bet a little bit to win a lot. You can really get those liabilities big time on the long shot. So yeah, I think the public will be on Boise State. A lot of the people who just don't pay attention as much. They see that 4 seed and a bye, and the Heisman most likely runner up, and they'll think that they're great value. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, yeah, great value. Yeah, sure, if it wins, but let's see what happens. They'll wait Penn State, SMU. Interestingly enough, I think Arizona State's an anomaly too. How have you done with Arizona State? Because everybody seems to have been waiting for the wheels to fall off as the season progressed, and yet here they are with a bye in the playoff, and they either got Texas or Clemson coming their way. What is the deal with Arizona State?
Yeah, I mean, they've been kind to us all most of the year.
Yes.
Not gonna lie, those games haven't gotten as much. You're not the sexiest games. They haven't gotten that big time action. But overall, and we definitely needed them to win the Big 12. So that was the nice score for us. So yeah, I mean, like you said. They're obviously overseeded as well. I think they have some wrinkles to work out the next couple next years to figure out how to seed these teams better. But I have a feeling we're going to need them big time on their first round game. However,
yeah, and it's interesting. Does it appear to you as well? Are you seeing it? They're betting the Clemson Texas game like they know the score already. I mean, Clemson playing with house money here, and would we all be shocked if they actually won this game?
Yeah, I mean, getting 11. I mean, shoot, like I said earlier. I mean, we're going to need, as of now, we're going to need Texas pretty big here. 63% of tickets and 72% of cash is on Clemson. Nothing sharp yet, unlike the other games, but yeah, I mean, seeing Clemson with a plus 11 next to him just kind of looks off, doesn't it? So I think the Rex will be all over Clemson, continued up until kickoff, and we'll be Longhorns fans.
You're going to be big-time Longhorns fans. What about Oregon? I mean, congratulations. You're undefeated. You got the number 1 seed, Dave. So you get to play either Tennessee and most likely Ohio State. So what good does the number 1 seed have to do with that? But Ohio State getting a ton of love right now in this game against Tennessee?
Let me click on there real quick. Yes. No. Not a lot of action yet. The look ahead lines, not a lot of action yet, but the Oregon is the public side as of now. About 62% of the bettors are on Oregon, laying 1.5 versus Ohio State versus Tennessee. They're on Oregon as well. About, doing calculations in my head real quick, about 67, give or take a couple percentage points. Oregon minus 4.5 versus Tennessee.
So the interesting, I mean, Notre Dame is always going to get money late, right? I mean, if there is, people are just always going to gravitate towards Notre Dame right now. Interesting matchup they have against Indiana in this first round, but a lot of people fell in love with Indiana as a big dark horse this year. They were supposed to win, 4.5 games, I think, 5 games tops.
Right.
Are they a trendy dog right now?
The early publics think so. 64% of the early tickets are on the Hoosiers. We did take some sharp action on the Irish, -6.5, and plus a little bit of sharp on over 50.5 in that one. So, you know, it's funny with these early numbers. Most of the people are on the most of the bettors, not most of the money, but most of the bettors are on the dogs, which is not the usual case. But I think they'll even out come kickoff. Like you said, I think more of the Notre Dame action will come in late, especially at that number. It's right around 7.5. I think most of that late action will definitely come on Notre Dame, even though the early bettors are on Indiana.
What is the react? Because it's interesting on your look ahead numbers here. It's almost virtually a pick 'em Notre Dame and Georgia, but Georgia less than a touchdown favorite if it is Indiana, and obviously not having Beck and their quarterback is an issue. But are we starting to see some of that money come off of Georgia here with the injury?
Not yet. I mean, looking at these look ahead lines. I mean, Georgia against Notre Dame. I mean, that's taken on about 80% of the early tickets are on Georgia. Yeah, Georgia, Indiana, not getting a lot of early love. I guess no one's expecting that game to be played, but just over 80% there is on Georgia as well, laying 6.5 versus the Hoosiers.
And of course, before we get to any of that, we got to get past Army Navy coming up tomorrow. Dave, what are you seeing with that one? Are we split? A lot of Army money? What do you think?
Money wise, it's split. About 53% is on Army. That count dominating Army. It's 81% of the tickets are on Army. Sharp Navy +7 or more. Some sharp on over 38 or fewer. Getting really good action. It helps that they're good, both good. I think that even drives more interest. Getting really good action from I can see, but so much more yet to come in.
Plenty of time left between now and the kickoff tomorrow, 3:00 Eastern time. Dave, before I get you out of here, how has college basketball been? And are you starting to see more of the handle, more volume start to pick up now that college football's kind of winding down?
It's been good. I mean, it's been good. More challenges than ever before. November and early December, college basketball is always the toughest sport to book for the sports books. I mean, out of the North American sports, right, where we're getting volume. It's just I've explained it before. I mean, college basketball. In the beginning, it's pretty much the diehards and a ton of sharp money, not a lot of recreational money. It's on some big games, some of those big nationally televised games like the tournament games where you're getting, 2 top 25, 2 top 10 teams playing. Sure, the actual boost up, but it doesn't really take that next step until January. Well, once the conference games start, it takes the next step. Then January, a lot more when there's a lot fewer NFL games and college football games, obviously. But it really doesn't take off until after football. And then, of course, March Madness, it goes through the dang roof. So yeah, I mean, it's a struggle, man. November, December, college basketball, it's tough for us to make money on that because it's just so, there's not a lot of recreational money, but a lot of pro money that's just feasting on. But, it's crazy with this NIL and more so the transfer portal. It's just so hard. It's challenging. It's hard enough in November to figure out how good teams are. But now with all these players changing, going here, there's no continuity. I mean, it's more difficult than ever.
So you're saying if I see a big line move on Merrimack, it's probably not the public moving that line. Is that what you're telling me, Dave?
Not in November. Maybe in March, but not November. Hell no.
Definitely not in November here. And have you seen, has there been a big appetite in the market for this NBA Cup? And when does the NBA really start to take on a ton of recreational money and it really starts to kick into another gear? Is it after Christmas? Is it on Christmas?
I mean, it's kind of what I said about college basketball. It's just bigger volume. There's more recreational money in early, but it levels to it, right? It starts out, as long as NFL is in season and there's so many darn games too, that's king. If a total recreational player has whatever $100 a week to gamble with, that recreational player is most likely spending that on the NFL. But come January, he might spend a little bit more because there's fewer games. And once the NFL is over, NBA will take most of the action. And then, the playoffs, it bumps up too. So it's like college basketball. It starts out slower, then it picks up, as football slows down. Then once football's over, it takes that next step. And then the playoffs, it goes through the roof. And the finals, it goes absolutely ballistic.
Goes absolutely crazy. And then baseball comes and everyone goes to sleep, Dave, which is what I would absolutely love to do right about now. Dave Mason, betonline.ag. Brother, I appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy the weekend and let's get ready for some craziness coming up here, huh?
Looking forward to it. Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a great weekend.
You got it, Dave Mason, betonline.ag. Great stuff there. So you heard him tell you, all right, you start seeing big line movement like, I don't know, where Omaha, the line is moving towards Omaha, 2.5 points, and not Northern Iowa. Well, guess where that money's coming from? It certainly isn't the public running to the window to push Omaha, is it, guys? That was interesting. But get ready. We still got plenty more to get to here today on WagerTalk TV. And I'd certainly hope, if you guys have not done so already, you smash that like button and, of course, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. A big shout out, Daryl Turner in the house. Apparently, we're not canceling Christmas. He is ready to roll here, looking to make it a very profitable last couple of weeks, wants to pay for some of those Christmas gifts. And the best way to do that, guys, right now is how about a 10-day all-access pass for the price of $7? Get 3 extra days for $99 right now at your favorite handicapper at WagerTalk.com. No better time than right now when you think about all the action we've got coming. Now is a great time for you to partner up with one of your favorite handicappers at WagerTalk.com. For $99, get 10 days, every play, all access. That's what it means. Every sport, every play. Get it for the discounted rate now at just $99, guy. It's a great opportunity to hop on board. Visit your favorite guys over at WagerTalk.com. And get ready, by the way, a special edition. We're going to talk more college football coming up here in about 15 minutes as the college football kickoff show will be coming to you live. We're going to be talking about Army-Navy. We're going to be talking about some of these upcoming bowl games and, of course, our favorite first-round quarterfinal games in the college football playoff. That is coming up. And don't forget the NBA tip-off show, special time today, 2:15 Eastern time. So a lot of reasons for you guys to hit the like button and the subscribe button. Become part of the Wager Talk TV family. I know there was a question earlier from, Crypto Night Vision wanted to know, he came in a little late. Did the Prez beat the Black Bear yesterday? He unfortunately didn't get to buy the pay-per-view. Well, that's probably pretty good because I believe the Prez pretty much sharded himself and ran away, did not show up. There was a disqualification, Dan. Is that correct? If I'm not mistaken, I think Prez right. Prez got DQ'd, Dan. Is that correct? Yes.
So, usually when you sharded yourselves, that's an automatic DQ.
It happens.
Yes.
That Wager Talk Today thong he was wearing probably didn't help him at all in that spot. But hey, Prez will be back next week. Fingers crossed here, so I don't have to be. But in the meantime, want to thank VR, want to thank Andy Lang, want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. And again, time to get ready. We're talking more college football here in about 15 minutes. Come back and join us. More importantly, cash those tickets this weekend, guys. We'll see you again soon here on Wager Talk TV. Good luck.